Okay, here the first question is, how do you deal with stray animals, and what is the procedure and things like that?
Okay, well, as far as stray animals, um, the city has an ordinance that uh, controls this type of problem, and by enforcement. And we have 12 animal control officers that actually patrol the city throughout the day and actually enforce the ordinance. And the ordinance is very specific. It talks about owners that need to keep, if you own a pet, you need to keep them restrained from actually going out into the public right of way. And what is the public right of way? The streets or a neighbor's house. They're not supposed to be going anywhere but in their private property. So there is an ordinance that makes that very specific. And that is one way of controlling strays throughout the city. The other way of controlling is pickup of stray animals throughout the city. That's another way that we control. Okay.
What other types of animals do you handle with?
Besides
Besides cats
cats and
and dogs.
dogs, animal control deals with a number of different animals throughout the city. We actually have seen from snakes to honeybees in what we address. Example, besides those two, opossums, which is a very common South Texas creature, raccoons, coyotes, bats, and skunks and foxes. We do see them throughout the city, and it's very common in this part of the country.
How do you find these animals? Do people report them, or do you just patrol, or?
When we patrol, sometimes we do see this, and the other way of us running into or through them is by actually when we receive a complaint from the general public. They will report a problem at home where they're having this particular issue of a problem with a wild animal.
What is the weirdest experience your department had?
The weirdest experience that we've ever had, I would have to say the exotic animals. Those would be our weirdest experience, because we don't see that many exotic animals in the city, and you would be surprised. You think that you have seen all the animals in the area, but then when you deal with exotics, you're talking about an animal that is not even native and is coming from another part of the country or another part of the world, and they're being introduced to the area. And it's like an emu, for example. You only see these in zoos, and yet we've seen them in South Texas, in the area. And so that would be a very good example of something strange that we've encountered. And your boas or your pythons, those large snakes. And we don't expect them to be seen that much here, but we do have a few that we've run into in the wild, and we're not expecting that because they're not native to the area.
What type of clothing or equipment does your department use?
My officers wear a uniform as part of their equipment because, again, since we have to enforce the city ordinance, we have to cite people, and when we wear a uniform, then that's a respect and kind of protects my officers from people not reacting to that. And so that's one part of the equipment that we have. The other equipment that we use is actually capture equipment. My officers use snares, snake pulls. They're all humane, They use humane live traps as part of their equipment, and they use nets also. And bee suits. I'm sorry, I forgot bee suits. Whenever we handle honeybee problems or complaints, we have to use bee suits.
What do you like put on the streets when you're catching them?
Well, we don't put anything per se on the streets. What we actually do is we will consult or we will talk to a neighbor or a resident that is experiencing this problem with loose animals, and we work with them. And what we use is actually live traps, and we bait them. And we just use regular bait, whatever is common, like dog food or cat food.
So you don't use like muzzles or anything like that?
No. We don't do anything that will harm an animal. All we use is these humane equipment that is provided to us. We try to handle these animals as humane as possible.
This is getting like into the number part. It's how many strays does your department pick up, like a day or a month or a year?
In one day, an officer can pick up in the average of 10 animals a day. It depends on the officer's activity, but we average around 25 animals a day for the entire organization. And so that number can go high. It can go up to, in 1 week, we average around 100 to 150 animals in a week.
Okay.
Where do you take the animals whenever you pick them up?
The city has the ordinance that we have says that all animals have to be taken to the animal shelter. The city has a contract with the local Laredo Animal Protective Society, and they work in conjunction with animal control. We work very closely with them, and all animals that are picked up have only one disposition. They have to go to the shelter. There's no other disposition for them. They can't, I don't have any facilities here to house them, so all of them are taken to the
So
shelter.
even like exotic animals?
Exotics, their livestock, horses, cattle, everything has to go with them. And if they cannot house them for whatever reason, for example, they may not have the capacity to house, like for example, cattle or horses, then we work also together with the the livestock department for the sheriff, and they have special kennels and corrals, and we put them there.
On average, how many strays do you pick up that are like microchipped?
Well, the microchip is fairly new, and I don't have an exact count with me, but I would say that at this time, very few animals are being microchipped. The city ordinance just passed. The city just passed an ordinance that is going to mandate that animals be microchipped as part of the licensing of all pets in the city. So you will be seeing an increment in these pets that are found. They'll have to be microchipped from now on. So there's going to be an increase. But right now, I really wouldn't be able to give you an exact number because it's fairly new, and the city is just starting this in August. We will mandate that all pets be licensed and microchipped.
Well, okay. What if you were to have like chickens and a rabbit?
Okay.
Would you be able to microchip those type of animals?
Well, the microchipping is really microchipping is really gonna be for dogs and cats. That's what the city wants.
Oh, so they don't have